first item up for business is approval of the appointment of Dory Bush as new trustee representing Bush Farms.
I'll make that motion. Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Yes, Connor Martin,
Aye.
Brody, well, can't do that one right. Randy McMurphy,
Yes.
Melissa Fisher,
Yes.
Stan Klein.
Yes.
Welcome to the board, Brody. Item number 3, approval, disapproval of minutes, September 13th, regular meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Roll call vote.
Martin,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
McMurphy,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
All right, item number 4, approval, disapproval of the financial reports as of November 30th, 2023.
Nothing in there that's really changed a lot. I mean, anything significantly.
Now, the only thing you'll probably wouldn't notice is that there are pledges, funds, because this is our pledge time of the year, that go to the Woods County Economic Development Committee. Those that are in the account still, they haven't transitioned to over yet. We tend to like to get a bunch of them before we do. So we're not writing, for you to sign 10 checks and just lump them all together. And there's only a couple more that I believe that are to come in until we have everybody who has stated they're going to pledge.
So those pledges are listed in here on the asset, they're back in the other part.
I believe,
I mean, I don't see them.
it's under the Bank Central account.
Oh, they're in their account.
Right.
Okay.
So if you really were to start doing the numbers, you would probably think, oh, there's some additional funds in the Bank Central account that I'm not aware of.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's the pledge.
I'll
And I-
move for approval. Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Martin,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
McMurphy,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Okay, item number 5, action on payment of outstanding bills.
Those were the bills that were given to you today. One is the annual pledge to the Woods County Economic Development Committee, and the other one is the Joe Chance that I believe you have there.
$800.
Yes, 800.
And she did that 5 months ago now, month and a half. I went and looked at it and did a really good job like usual.
When we get to that part, I can just tell you that Max has looked at it. He's fine, but it won't be till next year if he gets to it. So we kind of jumped ahead, but I figured I'd share it since we're talking.
I guess we need to,
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills. You got to pay the bills?
yeah, that's what I was looking for. Motion and a second that we pay the bills.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
Martin,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
McMurphy,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Item number 6, update discussion, possible action regarding 910 West Lakes Drive regarding Joe Chance, Rose Plumbing, issue out there.
And that's pretty much what we just talked about.
Anything?
Nothing further to report other than just that Max had gotten a message from him, and he stated that it won't be till next year that they can even start looking at that. One additional thing I will say, I did go down and filled out an application for a meter. So everything on our end should be good. We just need to.
Well, I think we better be prepared and talk about where we stand about Harvey's deal. Yeah, we're gonna, and I didn't get to it again before the meeting, but yeah, we have to figure out what we're gonna do there. I don't know if we have any choice, but I think it's gonna come now. That may be, I may be wrong, but I think we're gonna have to put Harvey in a meter to go to that south building. And then see, when I talked to Harvey, he thinks he's already got a meter down there. And when I was out there with Max Lee, we only found one meter serving all three buildings. Well, like, it looks to me like the best case scenario is each building has their own meter. Yeah.
So,
And Max, yes, there'll be one for each Ward's building and one for the middle building, which is ours, and then one going to Harvey's, which I think they're all on one meter now, but there's a little bit of difficulty, but I don't think it's worth that. It needs to be straightened out. And Max, when I was out there with him, and he went over with the city guy Drake, and they have it worked out where that can happen.
save headaches down the road.
Yeah.
Um,
So, I guess we might as well decide, have a vote on that, hadn't we, now, and have it, because we won't meet maybe before it's done. There's no need of holding things up or
Well,
whatever.
this is the third meeting I've maybe discussed all this, so,
Okay, I'll make the motion that we let Max handle it and get everybody have their own meter out there.
And we're paying for the meter to the Harvey building.
Yeah, I think it's kind of our responsibility to, we can't go back and change the past. So we need to fix it for the future. We're kind of caught in the middle, like with the middle building. So what you're saying is just, most of the saying that Max didn't have the leeway just to do whatever he needs to do. Yes, to get all three buildings separated and a meter for each. We got three different owners. Well, that's gonna cost some money, but I'm like you, I think that's the only way out, so I'll second that motion.
we have a motion and a second to, give Max Rose the go-ahead on what he needs to do, and installing one meter per building, total of 3 meters.
I believe it's 2 meters, correct? Because there's one on.
Well, there's one already there, but
So
it's servicing all three buildings,
Yeah.
so it'll be
So
three separate.
it'll be 2 meters,
An additional 2 meters.
An additional.
will exist.
correct. Okay, roll call.
Roll call, yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
McMurphy,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Question, the bill that Mr. Ward got, did we take care of that? The water bill that he received?
That is not, because we haven't gotten to a point where we can see what that average would be yet. But that was discussed, that previous meeting, that when that average is determined, we would do a reimbursement, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think we need to go
We might
back.
have 2 months now of usage.
Well, all three buildings are using it until we get them split.
Yeah.
I don't know how we really come up with a good
The
scenario.
likelihood would be, if the next meeting's March, we probably won't have a few months to see what his average bill is yet, so it more than likely will be the June, meeting that we would do a reimbursement.
Is he paying, Ward, did he pay that bill so they didn't turn his water off?
I guess, I
I mean,
think he
I-
did
I-
business.
I-
Until March can be, that's a long time to not go for, not paying your water bill.
Yeah, I reached out to him, I have not heard from him. The last time I talked to him, he was fine with it. But I'm happy to reach out to him again to let him know that the likelihood is, you know, there definitely will be a reimbursement, but there will be, we'll need to have a couple months at least to see an average of what was being used.
Well, the main thing is, I think Max Lee needs to, even before he changes the meters, or maybe he already has, is my understanding there was a leak in our building.
Yeah, now I
And
talked.
has that been fixed?
I talked to him about that, and that was another thing he said, that he's just so busy, he hasn't been able to get
Okay.
until January was the first, so that's what he has informed me.
But I was under the impression those
I
guys
think-
could shut that
I
off.
think he did shut it off. I'm pretty sure, when I talked to him about a month or two ago,
Okay.
that was shut off, but I'll verify that as well.
I think those boys that are out there have the ability to shut that off instead of letting it just sit there and run.
Is it a little valve on the toilet, or is it toilet leak or something?
But I think there's a main cutoff in there that they could turn it off and turn it on and use the restroom and then turn it back off. But I think the leak is probably, is on that deal. I think Harvey just has a hydrant out there that's available for use. I guess Stan, he did say he had plumbing in there,
Yeah.
but didn't use it.
He had it turned off.
Yeah. So, I mean, that leak is probably the reason for the high bills. Because I think that bill came to Steve before he was hardly even operational, was my understanding.
I guess we just probably just need to double check and talk with him and see going into June, if he's paying $500 a month water bill. I don't know what it is. I just need to, I guess, communicate with him.
Well, he was good when I talked to him about, we figured out, and at some point, I mean, I think he's proceeding forward, just the fact that he paid it, and if he gets anything reimbursed, he's gonna be happy, you know.
And when I talked to him, that's what he stated to me too. But I did call him, I want to say a few weeks ago, and just gave him an update of where things were, just to let him know. But that was left as a voice message, so.
He's had some health issues in the last month, I think, so.
Alright, item number 7, update, discussion, possible action regarding application to RBDG for Richard Burton.
Yeah, so if you look in the back, you'll see, Richard came to me yesterday. Just kind of the story behind all this. I haven't gotten a whole lot of information in regards of what exactly this is about, but his son's girlfriend is the one who works with this RBDG grant. And so it gives an opportunity for him to get a piece of equipment that will help his business out. But that has to go through a certain entity. Us being a public trust, we qualify as that. So from what was approached to me was for us to submit the application to get the grant, which is up to $100,000, to acquire this piece of equipment. At that point in time, it's my understanding that we own this piece of equipment, and in turn, we would lease this piece of equipment to Richard for him and his business, up to, I think it's, Randy, didn't we figure it was 7 years?
That's what he told me when he called.
So we're finding out a little bit more about what it is, but in a nutshell, that's pretty much what the request and what that grant would do, up to $100,000. Now, since that time, after talking to the girlfriend, she has to take herself out of the equation pretty much, and there's a new contact that I would be approaching if we were to pursue this. I believe the grant's open till the end of January for me to fill out. But it would be filling out a whole grant to receive these funds to help out. And then as you can see in the back, the piece of equipment that he's looking to get. And there's two different bids that he did submit, one a little over that 100,000 grant amount and one under 100,000. Now, he stated to me yesterday, if it was over the 100,000, he would pay the difference. As for what it would look like moving forward on our end, our lease to him, that part I'm not clear on. I'm not sure if he's expecting to just basically get it free, and that's the way a minimal, whether it's $100 or whatever it would be, monthly payment, or if we were to take it as an actual, like a loan that we were the bank basically, and he's reimbursing on that particular route. And Randy and I had talked about it a little yesterday. And I think Randy was looking at that more of that lease to own kind of approach. Correct?
Well, when he caught me off guard, but it was, he mentioned the deal of lease purchase. I mean, I think, Stacy, can we shut that off for a minute, because this is an unknown deal, and the reason I say that is I don't want it on camera that we talk about doing something that we can't do for other people. You're welcome to listen, and maybe you edit it out, okay?
I understand what you're saying, but there are the open meeting things, and would that not call for like a new business or executive session?
Well, okay.
Because I do have somebody that I have a boss I'm accountable to.
I mean, I understand open meetings rules, but we're talking about something that nobody here really knows about. And I'm still in the dark. I'm reading this deal here, and
I understand the concept. I'm just saying it's putting me in a bad spot. It is.
Well, there's a deal in here, number 6, that says revolving loan fund request only.
Which one is that?
It's in the requirements. It's on page 6. And the deals that I'm familiar with on those revolving loans, I mean, we were talking yesterday, Jeremy, that you thought it would be a grant, which they're calling it a grant, and we would get the funds, and we would buy the piece of equipment and then lease, purchase, or do whatever. But if it's a revolving fund, the way all of them, I've been involved in 2 or 3 different ones, it's a loan, and you pay that money back, and that the state is just using the same money over and over. When we're done with it, we pay it back. So, I mean, what I don't know is if it is a grant, that full payment is there and we could help somebody get it. And we just are the admin people, administer it and what have you, and it could be a useful tool to businesses that qualify for it
Mhm.
and stuff, and cuts them some slack. But if the money has to be paid back, if it's a loan, like a revolving fund loan, then it's a whole different scenario. And if we're just gonna handle the essentially the paperwork,
So, sounds to me like,
I mean, I'm all about helping people, but it's the difference, what I'm getting at is the difference in a grant and a loan.
yeah, so it sounds to me like we should probably table this and have, I will contact this, new person that I will need to contact to see if this is a revolving, loan, and if that's the case.
What they do, and the county has several of these, have a big pot of money, and you get to use that money and pay back monthly payments on it and stuff. Then when you get that paid back, it all goes back in that same pot and somebody else gets to use it. I mean, it's not a bad deal, but there's a difference, I mean, in whether this is actually a grant or a loan.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough, and you follow where I'm coming from.
They label themselves as a grant, but from, if you read that particular part, that does bring into question, so I think that would be wise.
I think we gotta have more information before,
Right, before anything would be, moved forward on an application. Well, then I will see about the revolving phone request, number 6 on the document. And then if it is something to move forward on, we would just need to have a special meeting to take place in January.
I mean, I think this deal could be awesome for a lot of people, I mean, businesses that qualify, you buy a big piece of equipment and lease purchase it to them. That's essentially how we do on equipment, it's called a lease purchase, the county cannot have a loan, it's against the Constitution, but they are loans and you just call them a lease purchase. But they have to be renewed yearly, and every year the county can back out of that deal. But the bank also owns that piece of equipment. And what Jeremy and I were talking about yesterday, it would be like us becoming a bank. And I don't think it's a bad deal, but I think we need to know more. It'd be a great deal if we get this $100,000 to buy this piece of equipment, we don't have to pay it back, and we can help that person. But I mean, they'd eventually have to pay for it, low interest and what have you, and it would be a small source of income, interest off of the deal for us.
And all this information came to us just, like yesterday, I got Richard's information, and so Friday was when we were supposed to just have a better understanding of things, and that's when the RDDG person said she has to pull herself out because of her closeness with this particular individual looking for the equipment. And I have a new contact that I can get with, and then I'll ask that one about the revolving fund.
You get a motion to table it? Yes. On that motion?
Well, wait a minute. If we table it, I'm not sure we can have, this deal might require a special meeting to come back after we
Right.
find out more information. I think we just take no action, because I think if we table it, it has to wait till the next regularly scheduled meeting. But it has to happen at that meeting, and no action, we can act on it any time.
And the next meeting would be after the deadline of when this grant needs to be, the application needs to be submitted. So it would require a special meeting, once that information is gathered.
All right, any more discussion on that?
Yeah, I think Jeremy needs to gather some more info and then we,
Yeah, I mean, grant versus no is a whole different world. It's kind of hard for us
Right.
to have much more discussion until we know more what's going on. All right, we'll move on with lack of action. Move on to item number 8. Update discussion possible action regarding bank account signatories.
Yeah, so this is just something I've discovered. There's a lot of, in the banks that none of you are on to sign the checks. So this is just one requirement that was made that we need to have it written in the minutes. Who would be the ones that would have that authority to sign on the bank account on the checks? I think that you are able to, Connor, but if there's other individuals, and there's some that would need to be removed that are no longer here, so.
you got the list.
But
They just verbally told me, 2 people, I got it in the office, but
so more than the, I guess, the general fund of the main account, how many accounts?
as far as accounts where checks are being written, the only one that I deal with is Bank Central. The other accounts that exist are, ones for the CD funds or just deposited. If something was to take place with the airport or the industrial park.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Well, go ahead.
So,
We just need- we need
the
to-
accounts that we have, I'm just kidding. There's the CDs, there's account for the airport, one for Winoka, but the Bank Central one, which is the one where we write checks. And that's where everything's deposited.
So I guess we just need to get those updated and decide on who
Right.
is gonna be able to sign
Yeah.
on all of those.
And apparently, if I submit the minutes of this meeting, that's sufficient enough for them.
I thought I was on at Bank Central and Community.
I wish I had the names written on a piece of paper that's in the office. It's 2 names I've never heard of. You all
Okay.
probably have, but when I brought the names up with Kay Decker next door to me, she was like, oh my gosh, those are long ago. So that's what I got. And it's whoever you would want, but generally, it's good to have at least 2.
So, how do we want to do this? I think, I'll make the motion that those people no longer affiliated need to be taken off.
Can we just deem it, instead of specific names, or we just wanna state it as the director, chair, and vice chair, instead of putting names on there, so as those
So you don't have
people
to
come
do it
in,
every time.
they're
I think those names are gonna need to be in the minutes to pacify the fact.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if it's wise to have a director on there. I doubt there's situations, but
I guess you're not on it, yeah.
no, yeah, and I don't think I would need or should be on it.
That's true.
But if they're no longer on either the economic development board or this board, they don't have any business signing checks. Is what I'm saying, without
Right.
even knowing who those names are.
And I'm sorry, I didn't bring those names, I just, was
Well-
looking more towards,
Well, you know who's on and who's not.
right, they
So,
just had stated it to me, yeah.
If you just have written down here in this minutes that, two names of people that are here right now can sign checks and that's all. The bank will take everybody else off.
Yeah,
So we just need to get two names down there.
yeah, at least two. I mean, we could have, you can have it where the whole, board is able to, which is fine. That leaves, somebody gets ill, somebody's on vacation, then there's a third, fourth, and fifth backup.
Makes it easier for you to find signatures
I
for,
think it makes it easier for all of you too. If let's say Randy and Connor are the two, and Randy's gone, and now Connor, I need you to sign something, and you're like, I'm in the middle of something. So, I mean,
right.
I would think the whole board would be, my suggestion. But that's all for you to decide.
The only thing I see wrong with that is deleting those people when the board members change.
Right. And that's something now, at least to keep it as an updated situation. I asked because I was just curious. And I'm surprised they told me, because every time I go into Bank Central, they say, are you on this account? I say, no, but I don't want to be on this account because I'm the director for that purpose alone. I was like, well, we can't give you the balance. I was like, that's fine because you send it to me once a month. So I just need a receipt that I did deposit these funds. But as for, you would need to take action on the bank account signatories, and if it's all of you, and that's the way it was sounding at the end there, then we would need to move forward on that.
I guess, I'm gonna kinda interrupt this just to say, to not waste anybody's time, but, cause I don't wanna make motions on this and have to go backwards on it, but, I was at the end of this meeting gonna announce that I'm resigning from this committee. And so, for the sake of time and wasting you guys' time, I'm just gonna tell you now, so we don't make any decisions. I just wanted to, I was gonna announce that at the end of the meeting, and I'm doing it now. And so, appreciate the time on here, and appreciate you guys, you're a hell of a group and all that, and I appreciate it, but this will be my last meeting, so if I don't need to be putting any comments. So with that,
Thanks for your service.
thank you.
So where do we go from here regarding this issue?
Are you a signature are you on it now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that's gonna need to be reflected in this motion, because I just, Stan, I know what Paula goes through, that OHCE deal and those bank accounts there. And if it's not in the minutes, and we may need the names, because she goes to the bank, those people on that, and they want the minutes and definite names.
Okay, so,
I mean, they're pretty picky about those, putting people on, and if you get on it, I mean, you gotta take your ID down there, you gotta go down there and sign a bunch of papers to get.
From working at the bank and doing that, it's a really kind of ridiculous process that they put you
Right.
through for that, all banks.
And,
So it's gonna be 2 forms of ID, and you gotta be here, and you gotta, it's a thing that can drag out for 4 months, because one person forgot an ID and didn't go sign, can't finalize it.
and you could have banked at that bank for 50 years, and you still gotta go in there and do it.
So that's why I wanted to interrupt that, because I didn't wanna make a motion
Mhm.
and then add 6 months to this process.
right.
But I think probably we specifically need to take those names off in the meeting and have the names.
Mhm.
Whether, we don't have to do that right this meeting.
I'm not,
Do you want me to start?
I think you can get it done, I think you just need names stated specifically, so
Yeah,
I think
so-
it just needs to be
just
Whoever-
did this for another organization, and I just took the minutes in there. Someone made a motion, and I just took the minutes in there, they took the other people off. I mean, those people weren't even with me, they just removed them,
Mhm.
put the current signatures on there.
But they had their names
Right.
to take off.
Do you wanna just
No,
look at those?
I just,
They
no,
were-
there was
Look at the
nothing,
names, so you can just do it.
we just had in the minutes
Oh.
that
Office.
these would be the current
Is that-
signatures of
so-
our,
I think we
And
should
the
have-
only ones.
Yeah,
It-
fine.
and then they
okay.
just removed the others.
Okay.
The others weren't
Just
stated
do it
in
just to
the
get it done.
minutes,
Okay.
but they just removed the others,
Okay.
and that was at Bank Central.
I can try to find that piece of paper.
Well, he just said that it wasn't required, but it
Okay.
needs to be in the minutes that only
Yeah.
the new ones
Right.
are the only ones.
I think you
Yeah.
just need to state, remove who's currently on that
Yeah.
account, and then
These were
that,
their current.
that clears it up, and then whoever needs to go on there, as long, put those
Well, that
names
would-
in there, then they'll see that, because the first thing you're gonna sit down, they're gonna ask for the
Yeah,
minutes.
I just emailed them the minutes, and that took care of it.
So we'll say remove current names, replace with, and then we're replacing with Randy McMurphy, Brody Bush, Dan Klein, and Melissa Fisher.
That sounds,
Is that correct?
yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that, Jeremy.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so we, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm
So
gonna-
moved, just like Jeremy said.
Motion, we have a second, roll call vote, please.
Martin,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
McMurphy,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes,
Klein.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item number 9, update, discussion, possible action regarding Winoka Incubator.
There's nothing that has come my way. If anybody has anything, the only additional thing I will add to the Winoka Incubator is I did add it to the website, so it's viewable there. One thing that when we get to the executive director report, I'll be informing you that I am looking to get a web designer / developer to help, and there are some proposals that were submitted, so hopefully we can have a little more cohesive look and more information on these particular websites than what the previous website would allow. So I'm looking to add more for that. But that with Winoka Incubator, that is on there. Other than that, though, there has not been any contact or activity done.
And it's,
So
it is vacant.
It is vacant.
No action there. Item 10, update, discussion, possible action regarding the airport project.
I'm not aware of the airport project, to be honest.
It's not really a project. It's we've got a lease out there on some of the property, and it got moved around, and I don't remember all the particulars, but what it amounts to, we supposedly have a place out there where we could build a building for a new business to go in or whatever, but it has to be surveyed. They got out there, and this has been going on for 4 or 5 years, this survey deal. And we don't know where the property lines are, of where did some swapping with the city. You've been on here a while, Stan, am I not?
I think you're going down the right track, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rick was a city attorney and he knew all about this stuff, and Sonia, but we swapped properties with the city, and when it did the survey, we don't know for sure certain where that lot is that we have the ability to do something on, which I don't think we have anything pressing to do anything with, so it's just kind of was wait and see for the survey. Anything to add to that, Stan?
I think the first thing I remember hearing about it was somebody at the airport was bitching because we weren't mowing what we were supposed to be mowing our property out there. And we couldn't, nobody could tell us where we needed to mow at. We didn't know, so.
I sent mowers out there and helped them a time or two when they were kind of in a pickle with the manager or equipment or whatever. And I mean, yeah, that was probably right, but we still don't know where that property actually is.
Aren't they building 2 new hangars out there now?
Yeah.
On the highway?
But,
Maybe we get lucky, they're building those.
well, at one time, they were kind of hot about a training deal or something and thinking about putting it in out there. But I don't know what happened to that, but that was something we would have been willing to help with, a facility for that. But I guess that kind of died. I don't know whether COVID did it or, Sonia was in the mix on that. I'm not sure how promising that was or what happened to it.
No more discussion there, we'll move on. Item 11 is new business. Do you have any new business?
Well, apparently we're looking for a new chair.
Mhm.
No,
Sorry, I was gonna let you guys know.
yeah, I figured that was where it would be.
Nothing else. Move on to director's report, item number 12.
Once a month, I send you all a report of what I've been working on that previous month, with the exception of, I believe, September. I got so busy and that donor appreciation dinner and a lot of things, IEDC, that I didn't send September, but I looped it into September and October. But is everybody fine with me sending those on the
I think it's good.
monthly basis? Okay. If there's anything that anybody has, any questions on, or you want more detail that I'm able to give to you, I'll be happy to share that on an individual basis. Otherwise, I'll just kind of do this generic of what I did. And just some key points of things to bring up. We are with ABARD in the middle of this top grant situation. This is a grant that was awarded through the Department of Commerce to have an outside consultant come in and just basically do a site-ready analysis on ABARD Rail Park. We are in the middle of that. The last thing that took place there on November 29th, they actually flew in and did an in-person meeting and then a visit to the site itself. Other things to point out is just working with the Department of Commerce, possible ARPA funds or PrEP funds. We'll see how that one goes. As far as Woods County Economic Development, we are at the time of getting our pledge funds. We are working right now the start of the turkey hunt conversations. Department of Commerce have new people that are involved in that turkey hunt, so it is going to be interesting, and it'll be my first time, so I guess it'll be kind of, hopefully it's the hardest way it's possible, your first time, because then the second time makes it as easy as cake. So, as far as anything else that I'm seeing here, still working with the Chamber of Alva, the mayor in Winoka, and no official contact yet. Freedom to become part of the Main Street program with the state. And that looks like that's something I went over with the Department of Commerce, looked at the applications fairly easy. easy and should get accepted into that as long as we have, I would be the sole primary contact, but then I would need a point contact for each community. Jody with the chamber has agreed to it. I believe Susan with Winoka, and now we're just trying to find Alba, although I've talked to Brett with the bank, and he said that he's not sure who it would be, but we would be able to figure that out and find someone there. The only other thing that we're looking into as of right now is that film-friendly communities. That's something that's kind of becoming a big thing. I am to go to a meeting with the Lieutenant Governor on it this Friday. There's some sort of gathering they're having with the whole film-friendly, and so I'll meet them. I'll meet the Lieutenant Governor. Jody will be attending it with me as well, and that I believe is in Owasso. So it's a little bit of a drive, but as for anything else, there's nothing to really report, but